Danny, so walk us through the Agentic Commerce Suite.
Yeah. So this is Agentic Commerce Suite. So this is your Stripe dashboard. If you've enabled ACS, you'll have an Agentic Commerce tab and a shortcut here. Then the top level screen is showing you the different agents that you'll be able to manage. So we have a test agent enabled here, but think of the mental model of having like OpenAI, Gemini, Perplexity. Like you'll be able to turn on and off these agents as you want to enable your product catalog to be having things sold there. So this will be your agent management console. And then you've also got the external catalog console. So this is where you can upload your product catalog, and then you can view the catalog. So we've got some sample products that we've uploaded here. Before we get into that, I'll kind of walk you through some of the setup as far as how you set up the entire suite. So again, the agent console. So this is where you get started. You'll click through, you add your external catalog, and then we're going to go to these settings. So the settings are basically different types of webhooks and things that you can configure. So we're going to be hosting your endpoints for you, acp.stripe.com. So you're going to put your endpoint URL in here, and then you're going to configure different things. And like, for example, do I want custom order approval webhook? Stripe Tax works out of the box with ACS, and that's how we have our demo set up. But let's say if you were using another third-party tax provider, you could configure this to basically use our custom tax webhook. So you can send us tax rates calculated by another third-party provider. Same thing with shipping, if you want to have custom shipping options. So we're building this checkout flow that allows you to customize like different aspects of it. And we have our webhooks here for order fulfillment that you'll need to be listening for. Your OMS system, for example, will need to listen for the webhook that says, okay, this purchase was verified, complete. Now ship the t-shirt or whatever you've bought, like on OpenAI.
So if you're used to using Stripe webhooks, this is very familiar.
Very, very familiar. Yeah, these are webhook events that are normal. We've also got the ability to separate auth and capture. So we get asked about this a lot from retailers, like, hey, once I'm authorized, can I wait and capture the funds once the item has been shipped? So this is why we're listening to these OMS webhooks that says, yes, we've authorized the payment method. Let's capture the funds once the object's been shipped. You can customize the receipt and things that you send to the merchant. And then finally, you can upload things like your return policy, terms of service, things of that nature. So this is kind of like the settings. If we want to walk through like a quick demo, I'll go to the external catalog, and we've also got some testing tools that we've built in to the suite that you can use to test the end-to-end experience. So if I view the product catalog, and let's say I want to buy this Nintendo Switch, this is a picture from the product catalog, how it's going to be rendered. You can see that it's in stock. I've got the ability to test this in the developer workbench. So when I click on this, it triggers a new blueprint that we have in the developer workbench called, yeah, go ahead, James.
Yeah, tell us about blueprints. So I haven't seen this feature before, so what does that do for us?
Blueprints are great. So basically think of it as like a nice bundled set of API calls that you can trigger with an actual workflow. So, you know, it's very quick and easy to do things like create different types of charges, create an account. You know, our API documentation is great, but this is just a very quick and easy way of having a workflow-based experience inside Workbench to do things that you would normally do through the API. So this is Trigger Agentic Purchase, and you have the ability to send in a product SKU, change things that you would change on the front end in an agentic experience. Things like the quantity of what I'm buying. I can test different types of payment activity here. If I have insufficient funds, you know, successful payments, unsuccessful payments, configure the shipping.
On the shipping, why would I choose yes or no in this case?
Yeah, so for example, if you're shipping a digital good, you know, your shipping is just going to be your email address. Or if you're shipping a physical good, you may want to actually turn this on and test whether or not you're going to have different shipping optionality. Some of our merchants just have standard shipping, 3 to 5 days. Others want to launch like multiple like express shipping, things like that. So this is just the ability to test those different types of models. And then, yeah, your what you would enter typically in a purchase, like your phone number, your first name, your email address. So we'll trigger this back from the workbench. You can test here, and I can just click run. And what it's doing is it's actually initiating a checkout, completing the payment. It runs through successful, and you can look at the logs and events. So you can actually see the API calls that were issued as part of this payment intent. Same thing with the checkout session. Very critical for a developer, right? To see what's actually happening under the covers, behind the scenes. And then if I come out and actually look at the transactions, you can see we've got live transactions here. I can pull up the record. And this is what the merchant's going to see. So the Stripe merchant that's selling this product, they're going to be able to see things like who the customer was, their email address, fulfillment things for shipping. You've got built-in fraud and risk scores that we'll scroll down to here. So this is part of Agentic Commerce protocol that we're sending you the risk scores as part of shared payment tokens. And then we're also calculating the tax, which is really cool. Again, we can use a third party if you want, but with Stripe Tax, this is all tax calculation is done out of the box. So that's just basically a way of triggering an agentic payment inside Workbench with Agentic Commerce Suite. So that's the end-to-end setup, the settings, the flow, uploading the product catalog, and then doing a test payment.
So why is there a difference between the product catalog I see on the left and the Agentic Commerce catalog?
Yeah, great question. So think of it as two different channels. So a product catalog, if you're an e-commerce company and you're selling products on Stripe, your product catalog is going to be what you render out on the e-commerce site. The Agentic product catalog is actually using our V2 product catalog spec, which is a more updated API spec, and it's for the Agentic Commerce channel exclusively. So think of it as an external facing catalog for these agents. So the reason we've got those separated is, your .com site is going to be using a product catalog. Your agentic channels are going to be using this Agentic Commerce catalog. So many companies, for example, want to only sell a subset of items in some of these AI surfaces. They don't want to surface their entire catalog. So it's really just two different channels, if you will. So we manage them separately.
So what's really impressive about this is even though you're using the absolute cutting edge of agents for doing your commerce, as a developer, I'm seeing the same sorts of events and the same sorts of transactions I've
100%.
typically always been used to.
100%. Yeah, everything is webhook driven. Everything's event driven. Once the payment lands on Stripe's API, everything is normal. Like payment intents are generated, checkout sessions are generated, refunds, chargebacks, everything is handled the same way. It's just the upfront experience. This is what Agentic Commerce Suite brings to the table. The upfront experience is surfacing that product catalog to these agents and making sure that the shared payment tokens are generated. But everything from the back end on Stripe's processing perspective of the payment really doesn't change at all.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. So thanks for giving us a first look at the Agentic Commerce Suite.
Absolutely.